everyone, welcome to the second day of Bookmas, and today I want to share with you my most anticipated releases of 2023. And I have a bunch of books that I have interest in, and I've put on a list of things I want to look into in 2023, but I didn't want to talk about all of those today because it would take too long. So I just focused on kind of my top 10 anticipated books, and all of these are from authors I've already read. So there will be new debut authors or authors I don't know about that I want to try in 2023, but I thought I really want to make sure that I read all my anticipated releases this coming year. So I just want to focus on 10 that I am already familiar with their work, and I definitely want to get to them. So I'm going to do these in a publication order. Of course, publication dates are subject to change, but this is how it is at this point. And for most of these, I'm just going to describe them in kind of their tagline because I don't want to read an entire synopsis to you and I might not remember everything. So I'm just going to tell you what drew me to picking this one up other than the author. So on January 10th, we have Lost in the Moment and Found by Seanan McGuire. This is the most recent book in the Wayward Children series. And I'm interested in this one because, I've read all of her books of this series except for one. I missed one along the way. But I really like the ones that are in individual worlds and not necessarily in our world. And this one looks like it'll be like that. It is following a girl that we had met in the last book, Where the Drowned Girls Go. And we're going to be seeing her experience. I don't know if it's before she went to the school or after, but we're kind of seeing her world and her experiences. So I'm looking forward to that one. And the cover looks really interesting on this one because it's about a shop where things that are lost are found, I believe. Then on February 14th, we have The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshni Chokshi. And this one I put on here because I really love the Aro Shah series by this author, which was a middle grade fantasy. And I've been wanting to read something else by her. And I did pick up one of her young adult fantasy series, and I haven't read that yet, but then this one is actually an adult book, and I think it might be a standalone. So that interested me to try something else from the author for a different age group. And this one their tagline is saying it's a sumptuous, gothic-infused story about a marriage that is unraveled by dark secrets, a friendship cursed to end in tragedy, and the danger of believing in fairy tales. So that sounds really interesting. The cover was intriguing and just wanted to try something else by this author that's a little different than middle grade fantasy. Then on March 28th, we have a book from one of my favorite authors, T. Kingfisher, and this is called A House with Good Bones. And this is a haunting Southern Gothic, which explores the dark, twisted roots lurking just beneath the veneer of a perfect home and family. And I also am really pulled in by the cover because it has a vulture on the cover. And I don't know, vultures just really intrigue me. And I feel like from the other books that I've read from T. Kingfisher, she uses birds in interesting ways in her books. And so I would be interested to see if the vultures actually have a part in the book or if that's just the cover. So I'm really looking forward to that one. Then on April 11th, we have Some Desperate Glory by Emily Tesh. And this one I put on my anticipated reads because I had read her duology that was two novellas. I think the first one is called Silver in the Wood. I read those a couple years ago and I found them really interesting. It was kind of a slower moving, slightly fantastical book with romance as a main subplot, or even actually probably the main plot of it. And I just really liked them. The combination of romance and fantasy and just kind of a slow moving story. And this is, I think, that the author's first full length novel. So I was really looking forward to it. And it doesn't have a tagline, but it's a science fiction with queer characters. It's adult, and then it has a really long description. So I don't really want to go through the entire description, but just based on the fact that I really enjoyed the novellas by this author, that I'm really looking forward to this one. Next on April 13th, we have Atalanta by Jennifer Saint. And I have really enjoyed the two books that I have read by this author so far. I really like the way she does the Greek myth retellings and really focuses on the female characters. And also the way she focuses on those female characters, I think kind of brings it back to some of our current day issues. And I just really enjoyed her writing in general as well. And this one is interesting to me because I think that Atalanta is the only woman who was part of Jason's Argonauts, the only one that was part of that group. And she was known as a really great fighter and all of that. So I'm very excited because the other books that I read by her we were getting the female perspective, but they were characters that were like side characters or more minor characters in the original myths, because like the men were the like main focus in the myths. But this one, she actually is the like hero of a myth. So like, that's great that we're actually getting from an actual Greek hero that is a woman, or a Greek heroine, however you want to say it. So I'm looking really forward to reading this one. Next, on April 18th, we have The Piper's Promise by Leah Sipes. And this is the third book in a series. They are not necessarily connected to each other. They just have the same concept. So you can read them out of order. At least the first two did not have any characters that overlapped at all. So you could read these on their own. But the concept of this series is that she is doing retellings of fairy tales based off of like unknown siblings. So like the first one was the sibling of Sleeping Beauty. The second one was a third stepsister of Cinderella. And this one is the sister of the Pied Piper, and kind of looking into like what happened to her brother to, you know, turn him into the Pied Piper. And I really like this way of like focusing on the fairy tales from like an outside character, but that has a connection with the main character from the original fairy tale. So this one will be a really fun read. They also go a little dark in each of these fairy tales. So even though they are middle grade, I feel like they still kind of, you know, embrace that way original fairy tales were a bit dark. So if you like to read middle grade with a little bit of darkness in it, and fairy tales with a little bit of darkness in them, I would suggest these books. And like I said, I think you can read them out of order and it would be just fine. Next, on April 25th, we have Happy Place by Emily Henry. And I just really like her romances. I know they're very popular and a lot of people love them. And I'm just part of that popular group, I guess, for once. Like, I usually am not the one that likes the popular book, but I really enjoy Emily Henry's romances. And this one's about a couple who broke up months ago, and they make a pact to pretend they are still together for their annual week-long vacation with their best friends. So it's like a second chance romance, I'm assuming, and there will probably be like, you know, some, I mean, fake dating in a second chance romance. Kind of seems an interesting combination. So that'll be a really fun one. And now my cat has decided to join the video. Next, on April 25th, we have The Last Word by Taylor Adams. And I had really liked the thrillers I had read from Taylor Adams in the past. They wrote No Exit and Hairpin Bridge, and they're just like really fast-paced fun. Like, I wouldn't call them like high literature, but they are just like fun, like really quick reads. And this one sounds like really interesting because it is about an author. So our main character is a book reviewer, it sounds like, and she has posted a negative book review, and she lives in a remote location and wonders if the author is a little touchy or very dangerous in this novel of psychological suspense and terror. So I don't know if the author is coming for her for writing a bad review, but as a reviewer, I think that sounds like a fun book, and I've enjoyed Taylor Adams' books in the past and find them just a fun, like pretty much one-day read for each of them. So looking forward to that one. Now we're skipping all the way to August. August 8th, we have Dark Corners by Megan Golden. And this is actually a sequel to The Night Swim, which she had written a few years ago, or a couple years ago. And I really liked that. That was a 5-star thriller for me. And she's bringing back the main character from The Night Swim, who was a podcaster, a true crime podcaster. And so I really don't know much about what this book is about, but just the fact that it's like bringing back the character from that other one, and it's a podcast, which was part of the reason I liked the first book, and I remember liking that character from The Night Swim. So I am interested to see if this is going to be an ongoing series with this true crime podcaster as the main character, but definitely looking forward to seeing how the second one goes. And the last one I want to talk about does not have a cover, but on August 15th, we have Thorn Hedge by T. Kingfisher. So another one from T. Kingfisher. It seems that she has been doing one that's like horror and one that's fantasy now that she is traditionally published. So this is her fantasy one. And this one and this is a shorter book, so I'm assuming it's a novella. It's only 128 pages according to Goodreads. And this is an original subversive fairy tale about a kind-hearted, toad-shaped heroine, a gentle knight, and a mission gone completely sideways. There's a princess trapped in a tower, but this isn't her story. And I just love everything that I have read so far by this author, so I want to continue. I also really love her, like, when she writes fairy tales, even if they're not based on real fairy tales, but they have like a fairy tale-like quality. I really enjoy those stories from her, especially when they're shorter, like a novella length. So this will be one that I'm really excited to read. So those are the 10 books that I'm really looking forward to reading in 2023. Let me know if you have any that you think I'd be interested in. You can write them down below in the comments. And I'll see you tomorrow for the third day of Bookmas. Bye.